And we're live.
With Paranormal-Spirits, the place we come to get our booze on. We talk about the booze, the things that go bump in the night. And I get to do that with all my booze. I'm Mike Black. I have with me the lovely and talented Alyssa Black, my wife.
Hello.
Best friend, sidekick, devilishly handsome, John Burkett. And tonight we're going to take you on a haunted tale of a house that was built in 1853 in New York, and it became, among other things, haunted. And this unsuspecting family moved in, and they thought it was just going to be the most wonderful place in the world, and it turned out that it was.
Isn't that always the way it goes?
Yeah. If it's on this podcast, it's going to be they thought that it was the best house ever, and it turned out not to be. It's kind of the way it is here.
Truth.
So we're going to take you on that tale and tell you all about that stuff. But before we do that, let's talk about all the places that you can go to catch us on the web. We have, if you're listening to us on a podcast, you can catch us on YouTube at 3B Paranormal-Spirits. You can go to our Facebook group. That's Booze with Benefits, BOOS with Benefits. You can look us up on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, all spelled the same way, paranormal_DASH_spirits. And then you can go to our website at paranormal-spirits.com, and that's kind of a launch pad for everything. You can go to all of our different sites, and we have a swag store there, and you can pick up some trucker caps or dad caps or coffee cups or boozies koozies or all that good kind of stuff. And this show is about spirits, and in the tradition of every show that we start with some spirits. So this show shall be no different, and we will start with spirits tonight. And tonight we are drinking an Irish whiskey. John, take it away. Tell us what we're drinking.
This is Bushmills Protestant whiskey, Black Bush. Which Black Bush has a higher content of actual malted barley than the normal Bushmills, and is aged in a combination of Oloroso sherry and ex-bourbon fills. So
do tell.
It's a sherried one. Yep.
Is this supposed to be better than the Prohibition?
I don't know if that can be topped.
That's pretty darn good.
Although they do make some like 30-year-old single malts and stuff that probably would top that, but
I feel like it's darker than the Prohibition.
It is.
Well, the Prohibition has no added color to it at all. It just might.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Smells good.
You like it?
Smells sweet, actually. Ooh,
it's got some decent legs.
I like our new glasses.
It's Glencairns.
Our fancy little Glencairns.
Professional now.
Is that what we are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let us.
Well,
what do you get off the nose?
Little whiskey, little alcohol.
I was going to say, I get ethanol.
Ethanol. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and it's kind of strong ethanol.
Yeah, but I don't think the
proof
content is higher. It's 40. It's 80 proof.
Oh, okay. All right. So
only the Prohibition recipe has a higher proof.
Aged 8 years. Said one of the best whiskeys in the world. You can't beat Black Bush.
We'll see.
Both of you.
Cilantro.
Cilantro. I can taste the sherry.
This says
I can too.
Black Bush, an icon of Ireland.
Eh.
I'm just telling you what it says.
It's no Tamdu, but
I don't get it. It doesn't to me.
Tamdu Scotch though.
True. It's also single malt. It's all. This has some grain alcohol in it. It's not 100% malted barley, but it's way better than white label.
This is, you think? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, white label is strictly a shooter.
You mean
Yeah.
Bushmills white label?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, it doesn't taste as ethanol-y as it comes off in the nose.
No,
Not
it
at all.
doesn't. It doesn't have that
For
ethanol,
those that might
that
wonder.
Irish moonshine. It doesn't taste like that at all.
It says it floats across the tongue to deliver dark, velvety, fruity notes right through to the long finish.
It's not as good as Jameson's.
Sherry, peaches, nuts, amazingly spicy.
I can taste the sherry influence in there.
I do too. I'm not particularly impressed with the flavor.
Makes me warm inside.
It. That's pretty
I
much
mean, that's what alcohol does.
right.
But some hit differently. That one's got some goosebumps on that one.
It's not as good as the Prohibition recipe.
No, not
come
by
close to that.
actually not by a stretch. I don't think.
That is the higher proof point of that, I'm sure, is what makes that the
Very well
Prohibition
could be.
recipe.
It says you can make it black fashioned instead of an old fashioned.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not as good as Jameson Black Barrel.
It is
No.
not.
I might even go so far as to say it's not as good as regular Jameson to me, but I like.
I will agree with you on that. We are in agreement. If I were offered this or if I were offered Jameson, I would take Jameson.
The regular.
Regular, plain old
Green label Jameson.
go-to Jameson, yes. I would go to that before I would go to this.
I would definitely, now I know, if I'm going to pick up Bushmills, I guess I better go get some Prohibition limited edition recipe because
Yeah, this isn't
I don't
horrible.
think it's that limited either.
it's not.
It's still out. I mean, it
Yeah.
says
See
limited
that.
on their website.
It does. Well, they made it for the
Final season.
final season of Peaky Blinders, so it probably eventually will run out, but
It's very good.
it is
so
very good. But given the option of going to the Black Bush or going to Jameson, I definitely go with Jameson.
Now, there's a big price difference, I'm sure, but
Yes, what is the price point? I think we determined it's $45 for this one. Is that what we...
God, I hope not. 35 probably.
Yeah, I don't.
Regular old bottle of Bushmills is about $26.
Yeah,
So this is one step up from that. Prohibition recipe is $31 a bottle, so
Let's see. $31.49.
yeah, it's $31.
get the Prohibition.
Yeah, and if you want the sherry influence, spend twice as much as this and get a bottle of Redbreast 12
Yeah,
because it's amazing. But it's also $65 a bottle.
right.
Definitely get you some Prohibition and be done with that.
I would end up just shooting this.
Yeah, it's not impressive.
I like that there's a cork in the bottle.
That is fun.
Yeah,
I
do
love
too.
that it's not as ethanol-y as how it comes off in the nose. I am excited about that.
the nose is very ethanol-y, but the
Flavor is not.
flavor is not. No,
It's plenty smooth. It's just,
it
is.
is. It's very smooth.
yeah. I mean,
It's just-
it's miles above regular Bushmills, but
It still just kind of lays there.
Yeah,
and just so I knew it wasn't. Somewhere that seed was planted that this is the Protestant whiskey, and not well, probably because the distillery is in Ulster, right? But I heard it somewhere. And
Right.
looking at this, I see where it was in the third season episode of The Wire, Black Burners. Detective Jimmy McNulty refers to Bushmills as Protestant whiskey when he has offered it after being told Jameson's unavailable.
okay.
Somewhere.
So
when
now
I-
we know.
I was watching The Wire a decade ago. That just
Right.
stuck in my brain somewhere.
Well, that's what we think about the BOOZE. Let's talk about the booze, the BOOS. So, I am bringing you the story of the Hinsdale House, and it's named that because it's in Hinsdale, New York, and it's a story of the Dandies. Now, the Dandies.
Oh, it was fancy. The
Dandy.
Dandies.
I'm Dandy. The Dandies had vacationed in Hinsdale for years.
Please tell me
and-
that the dad's name is Jim.
No, it's not. I'm sorry.
No, or James.
But no, it's not.
Perfect. Jim Dandy.
No, actually, it's Phil. Phil Dandy.
It doesn't roll off the tongue
I feel dandy.
Jim Dandy
Yeah.
does.
So the Dandies had vacationed there in Hinsdale for years and years, and they loved the laid-back feeling of the northern woods. Small town, rustic feel. Everybody was really nice there. And this was much different from where they lived in Buffalo. So they're moving out into the country, and they're trading their high rises for tall trees and all that. So they were chasing the American dream. And they get out there and they find this home built in 1853. The home still possessed much of the charm that it had when it was built, because a lot of the original carving on the wood was still in good shape. And so they find this place, and then they fall in love with it at first sight. They get a realtor out there, and
It was a funeral home in the past.
no,
Oh.
it wasn't. Actually, it was like a way station for a stagecoach, but and travelers down the byways and highways of that time. But and I will get to that, but
I thought maybe we were going to have a trend.
no,
Some body hoists, you know.
So this thing it's surrounded by this dense forest, and it sits on 8 acres. There's a pond out back. There used to be a barn out there, but it had burnt down. But there were still some of the remnants out of it out there. And so this place is just beautiful. It's set in the woods. And the Claire Dandy, the mother family, believed that when they were out in the country like this, that they all got along better, the whole family. And it was kind of therapeutic for them. And it just rejuvenated their spirits and their relationships. Claire, in an interview later, would describe her feelings about seeing the house for the first time as being overcome with a deep sense of peace. Quote, "It's like I had finally come home after years of being elsewhere. The air was like breathing in champagne. It was wonderful."
You would drown.
Well, technically, yes, but maybe she's talking about that experience. That
Bringing in the literal.
John's being a little concrete, but no, she said it was just this wonderful feeling when they were there.
I was being extemporaneous.
Oh, you were being extemporaneous.
Oh, wow, here we are.
So when they were being shown the house, Mr. and Mrs. Dandy were shown a storage space underneath the stairs. And at first, the door was stuck, but Mr. Dandy put some weight on it and threw his shoulder into it a couple of times. Finally, the door swung free, and it revealed a dusty space with sort of a fireplace that had been built inside this storage thing underneath the stairs. And so, yeah. I'm assuming there was a way for the,
I know that
the
seems
smoke
dangerous,
to escape. Yeah. But
because this is a wood-in house.
yeah. And so it revealed the space, and they were like, they said it just didn't feel like the rest of the house. The rest of the house was very warm and inviting, and this place just had a weird feeling to it. Claire would describe her feelings toward the space. I wasn't sure why, but I felt uneasy, and when we opened up the storage space, I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was dark and desolate, not at all like the rest of the house. So she dismissed her feelings.
How warm and inviting do you expect a dusty old room under the stairs to be?
I don't know.
Like Harry Potter.
Or the people under the stairs.
Obviously, it didn't feel like the rest of the house. So she dismissed her feelings as for the reason that she was a quote-unquote city slicker, and they didn't have storage like that where she was from, so maybe this is why she felt that way about it. But once they closed the storage room up and returned to exploring the rest of the house, the feelings of peace would return. And after a short tour of the house and a short discussion, the Dandies decided they would buy the house. They just couldn't resist. 100-year-old house, and they were going to live in it.
Oh yeah, when is this?
This is in the 70s, the early 70s. So one day, on the day that they moved, Claire's brother was going to help them in moving, and he was going to get up there a little bit earlier than they did, a few hours actually. And he arrives at the house, and when he walks in with the first boxes to set them down in the living room, he is pelted in the face with flies and bees. And so
the bees.
yeah. So here's the thing. So this is like Amityville, maybe. But anyway, so there's these flies, and they're hitting him. And he puts the boxes down, and he starts looking for where this is coming from. Well, it's upstairs, I think to the left of the staircase as you go up, if I remember the layout correctly. But that room there, when he opened the door up, it was filled with these flies and bees in there. Now, so I could get the flies following the bees, because the bees are making honey, I'm sure, and not usually in the winter time, and this was late fall, early winter when they were moving in. So anyway, it's just full of these flies. A lot of them are dead on the floor, but they're covering the windows in the place, and my assumption is that they're trying to get the heat from the sun. But anyway, so they called an exterminator out. The exterminator came out and looked at it, said he had never seen anything like that before.
And they obviously weren't there when they were looking at the house.
No, not when they were looking. So they had swarmed in the interim, between the time they looked at it and between that and the time that they actually started moving in.
And we don't know how long that is, probably.
No.
Right.
We'll say 30 days to close. So
or a couple months, whatever.
Months. Even then, what has died?
Yeah. So they ended up having to pull up some of the floorboards to get the bees out, because they had started building a hive in the floor.
No.
The exterminator said he had never seen anything like it before in his life, or in his career rather. So once the exterminator finished his job and got the bees and the flies out of the place, and the family was able to move in and settle in, and they said it was just so peaceful there, because you're out in the country. I love being out in the country, so I know what it's like. And they said there was this sense of peace that just came over them. They all seemed to be enjoying each other's company. There was less fighting, amongst them, like there always is when you have kids.
Room to keep them away from each other.
And that's part of it, I think, and it's just more laid back, So after a few weeks of living in their new home, Mike was their son. He had made friends with one of the neighbors' boys, and they began to hang out together and exploring the woods and that kind of stuff. So during one of their trips out in the woods, as they're walking on, now remember, they're in New York, and they're walking along there, and they hear twigs breaking and leaves crackling, and so there's something walking through the woods with them, right? So they stop, and they're afraid of that it's a bear, so they kind of hide behind a tree, and they're watching, kind of peeking around, and they see this young boy who's about their age, and he's walking through the woods up just a ways in front of them. So they're like, "Hey, dude, this is private property. You can't be here." And they're hollering at him. The boy just ignores him and just keeps walking. And so they start following him and getting closer. And as they get closer, they notice that the boy, that half of his head is gone,
like see-through or blown off.
Blown off. And the kid is carrying like a rifle. So, and half of his head's gone. The closer they get, the more transparent he becomes. And finally they get to a place where there's a pond out there in the woods, and as he gets up close to the pond, the boy just vanishes and disappears. And the boys are just absolutely and completely freaked out. And so they start running back to the house, and they tell Mike's mother, Claire, and tells her what they saw. she dismisses it as, because the parents never believe.
Never in any.
Never believe.
Never do.
She dismisses it, says it's just overactive imagination of young boys. Just poo-poos it off. So, several weeks go by. Claire has all but forgotten what her son had seen. And she's out walking the dog through the woods. The dog's name is Madison. And taking Madison out for some fresh air and exercise. While they're walking through the woods, Claire gets quite a ways away from the house, and she starts hearing this chanting. And it says she said it sounded very eerie, and it came from everywhere. It wasn't like it's over there or it's over yonder. It's all around her. And so she starts listening to it, and the more she listens, the longer she listens, the louder this chanting becomes. Madison, the dog, is freaking the hell out. She's pulling at the leash and trying to get away from this. So finally, Madison breaks free and rips the leash out of Claire's hand and heads for the house.
What was the chanting saying?
I want the dog.
I'm sorry, what?
What was the chanting saying?
She never said it. I don't think she could, that it was distinguishable, only that it was chanting. And so she starts taking after the dog. She gets home, and Claire tells her husband what she's heard, and guess what he does? He poo-poos her off and tells her it's just her imagination, etc. Excuse me. She tells him, and he says, this is just your imagination. So she remembers Mike's experience out in the woods with his buddy. And so she tells him, and he decides he's going to try to find out what this was. So he thinks, there's a campground not too far beyond the edge of their property. So he goes out with his friend Matt, and they go into the woods to explore this. They get out, there's a lookout point and where they can look down into the campground, and there's nobody there that would have been making those noises. And so they're kind of like, well, what could it be? They don't know. So they start back towards the house. As they're coming back to the house, they hear this axe cutting into a tree, like very near them. And this axe is thumping into the tree. Then they hear a woman start screaming. And again, this is not coming from a place. This is like all around them. It's like disembodied. So it's just this screaming, right? So they take off running. They run all the way back to the house. And there's no way to explain what they heard. There's no way to explain what Claire heard. And anyway, they're at a loss. So months go by, they start to relax a little bit and almost forget about all the weird experiences, and life has become normal, like Norman Rockwell normal. There's absolutely nothing going on. So one day, Phil Dandy, you feel dandy, John?
I feel dandy.
Has decided he's going to take the kids into town to Buffalo. And they're going to go do some shopping and stuff like that. Claire decides she's not going to go. She's going to stay home, relax, read a book. So she opens up the window there at the in the living room. She sits down on the sofa, starts reading her book, and there's this light, gentle breeze blowing in the window. And all of a sudden, bam! The window just slams shut. It kind of freaks her out a little bit, but she's like, well, maybe it was
put a stick in there.
Yeah, maybe it was a rogue wind came through or something.
Rogue wind.
Like a rogue wave.
I know.
So,
no, I know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyway, she thinks it's a little bit odd, but it's nothing paranormal. It's just the wind blowing. And so later that night, Mike is asleep, their son, in his room. And dead asleep, something slams into his chest. And it's a box containing a chessboard and chess pieces. It just hits him in the middle of the chest. Well, up above him against the wall, he has these shelves where his these different boxes and stuff of games and things like that, board games, are stored. So this thing hit him in the chest, wakes him up, and he's like, what the heck? When he wakes up, he looks and he sees there's a stack of boxes, and they're kind of shifting and moving a little bit. The bottom, there's 3 in a row in this stack of boxes. The bottom one slides out and slams down into his chest.
He should have moved
the
first one.
The second box hits him. He screams. He's freaking out. Claire runs in there to see what's going on. And he tells her, as he's telling her about this box, another box flies off of one of the shelves at Claire and Mike. So, and they're like, there's no way for these boxes, because this box had come out from the other box, first of all, and dropped down and hit him. So you would have had to lift the boxes up and then slide one out. And so there was no way to explain that away. And so they both leave out of the room. They're screaming. Claire obviously wants to do something for her family. So what she does, she calls the local priest. And this is a Father Alphonse from the University of Saint Bonaventure. Father Alphonse, and I think of Fonzie when I hear that.
Hey.
I know it's Fonzarelli, but yeah. Can you imagine? The priest shows up with a leather jacket and,
Sit on it, Ralph Mouth.
So Father Alphonse.
Nope.
Oh my
You're
God.
right, I don't. Sorry.
It's from Happy Days. The Fonz.
Well, I know the Fonz.
Yeah, okay, well that's okay. So Father Alphonse, he says he thinks it's a poltergeist, and that's what he tells Claire. And in case you are curious or you got some idea, not positive, what a poltergeist is, according to the Oxford Dictionary, a poltergeist, from the German, is quite literally a noisy ghost or other supernatural being supposedly responsible for physical disturbances such as loud noises and objects being thrown around. So Father Alphonse makes arrangements to come out and bless the house. Several days later, on April 13th, 1975, Father Alphonse shows up to bless. The cleansing begins, and the family and the priest are gathered together, and they're starting in the living room. As he begins to speak, a series of horrible wailing and moaning voices begin to fill the home. The smell of burning flesh began to fill the home. The din reached its peak when they got to the crawl space that was underneath the stairs. Of course it did. Once the crawl space was blessed, the house went silent. It's like this peaceful bliss came over the house once again. And they described it as if the evil had been evicted, and it was just like when they first saw the place, So the priest says goodbye. They say thank you, and they go about their life as usual. They all sighed a collective breath of relief. It was over.
Seems a little early in the story.
But wait, there's more. This is Paranormal-Spirits, and it ain't never that easy. So 3 months later, almost to the day, as if to mock the Holy Trinity, all hell breaks loose again. That night, Phil was away on a business trip, and Claire is awakened to knocking sounds coming from inside the walls. You've experienced that before. And so these knocking sounds are coming from inside the...
It like it was someone banging on the
wall
inside of the room, but it could have been inside the wall.
So but the knocks are accompanied by whispers. They're hearing these whispers all throughout the house. So wouldn't it be creepy? So anyway, she's laying there and she sees this girl walk past her doorway. Well, she thinks, at first when she sees her, she thinks it's her daughter. And she goes, well, no, this girl's too young to be my daughter. So she hops up. She goes out into the hallway, and this little girl is walking down the stairs. So she follows her. And the girl goes all the way to the crawl space, opens the door, goes in, and closes the door behind her. Now, Claire follows her down there to the crawl space, and she's standing there. Finally, she gets up the nerve to open that door to look in there. And I just want to point out that Claire has way more stones than I do. Because there's no way in hell I would open that door and look in there. I know I wouldn't. I'd look. I know you can have that crawl space. That's yours.
The people under the stairs.
Oh my God! Right. So Claire goes up to check on the kids. They're both sound asleep. Don't know anything, or don't have any idea of what's going on. The next morning, Tina wakes up before the rest of the family. And she's doing her morning routine, and she's brushing her hair out in front of the mirror. And she notices she has this pet bird, and the bird's not singing like it normally does. So she turns around and looks at the bird, and the bird is staring into the corner of the room. And she thinks this is weird, but the bird is not taking its eyes off that corner. Okay? Like, it can see something that she's not seeing. Anyway, she turns back around to the mirror, and when she does, in the reflection of the mirror, she sees the little girl in the corner of her room, but this time she gets to see her face and everything. The eyes are gone. I mean, like they've been plucked out or rotted out or whatever. Anyway, Tina screams. Claire comes running up the stairs, and she realizes that Father Alphonse, hasn't completed his work here yet. So she calls Father Alphonse back out, and he agrees to come back in a week. And this time he brings a paranormal expert. So,
who was it?
The Warrens.
Tanis.
Just kidding.
Tanis.
Tanis, the crazy mustache guy.
Yeah. That's the dude. I'll get to that in a bit. So, anyway,
his mustache could scare all of them.
Right. So they're gonna come out, and in the interim, while they're waiting for the priest to come out, obviously it's not immediate. Claire and Phil are trying to keep their sanity and keep their kids safe.
Everybody moves into the living room.
No. Claire and Phil try to keep. They send the kids out with friends, and so they settle down that evening, and they're going to watch a movie. And they hear this crashing sound that's coming from outside. So they're, oh my God, what's going on now? So they run out there expecting to see some little girl with no eyes or whatever. And it's some trash pandas digging in the trash.
Oh.
So cute little raccoons out there digging in the trash.
Rocky.
And they're like, oh,
raccoon.
Thank God. It's just raccoons, right? They turn around and start back towards the house, and as they turn around, they see the girl staring out the window looking at them.
Well,
with her no eyes?
Missing eyes and staring out the window at them.
Well, I hope he had the car keys with him, because we ain't going back in there.
Exactly right. Long
going,
walk to town.
Bye.
We're going to Buffalo to get a hotel.
She can have it.
Long walk to town. So, but no, this is Paranormal-Spirits, so they have to go back in.
Yes.
And they get inside the house, and they hear movement coming from upstairs. So they go upstairs to check. Tina, their daughter, who was out with friends.
Oh,
Tina's home. So they never saw Tina come back in. They didn't hear her come back in. They don't know how she got in. But Tina's back home, and she's upstairs. They get up there, and Tina had blue eyes before right now. Her eyes are completely black.
No.
And she's just unresponsive and just standing there staring at the mirror. They start shaking her, calling her name. When she finally is responsive, she has no memory of how she got there, doesn't know when she got home, or any knowledge of what had happened. A few minutes later, they hear movement in Mike's room. So Phil goes to investigate while Claire stays there with Tina and tries to keep her calm. So as Phil heads over towards Mike's room, the phone rings. You remember Mike is out with his buddy, right? So it's Mike, and he's calling to see if he can spend the night with his friend Randy. Phil tells Mike what's happening, so Mike wants to be at home with his family.
Oh man,
so
it's too bad that Randy wasn't a member of the family.
Why?
He'd be Randy Dandy.
Oh, he would. That'd be cool.
Oh my gosh.
So, Randy Dandy. So, anyway, Mike's going to come home. Randy would later recount that Mike was pale and sweating. Randy asked Mike what was wrong, and Mike said, stuff's going on at the house, and didn't go into any kind of detail. So the boys arrive home to find the house in chaos. Phil's ready for battle. The girls are upstairs crying and freaking out. And as if on cue, as soon as they walk in the house, all the lights go out.
Of course it does.
And then they start hearing this banging on the walls, and scratching can be heard coming out of this crawl space. Something sitting there clawing at the door of the crawl space. So Phil is brave because Phil grabs the flashlight and heads towards that door.
Phil.
I would grab the flashlight or the car keys and head for the car.
Phil ain't going to be feeling dandy in just a minute.
I just can't get this. So anyway, so the closer he gets, the louder it gets, and he works up his nerve. Finally, he flings open this door, and the fireplace that was built inside this crawl space or little storage area, whatever. So now the bricks have been disassembled from the fireplace, and they're in the middle of the floor.
In the crawl space.
In the crawl space storage area thing. Yeah. So they're just stacked there. Claire gets on the phone. She calls Father Alphonse, and he agrees to come out that night with his paranormal investigator friend, Alex Tanis, and the one with the big 70 stash. Yeah, stash. And, oh, you can't say that anymore. It's going to be a corn stash.
Acorn stash.
Whatever. So, anyway, so this dude's well respected in the paranormal community. He's a researcher, a psychic. His abilities were studied at the American Society of Psychic Research. So he's with Father Alphonse, and they arrive later that night. And Alex is guided over to the crawl space. He steps into the crawl space room and begins to have a vision. And in his vision, he sees multiple dead bodies stacked in this crawl space. And after the vision subsides, he explains to the family what he saw. And he believes that many have passed away within the home itself, some of natural causes and some from murder. He also believed that the house used to be a stopping point for a stagecoach, where people would stay the night before departing the following morning. It was also his belief that there was a nearby criminal or gang of criminals that would often rob and kill travelers, and perhaps these people had somehow become trapped at this home. When someone passed or was found dead nearby, they would bring these people here, store them in the crawl space until they could find, or until they could have a proper burial.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I get it. You know, what do you do with them? I mean,
put that out in the shed. Don't bring that in the house.
You know. So.
Because then you get sister friend trying to find some new eyes.
Yeah,
like
and he
she
said
did
there
Tina.
Did no one ever decide to go to the county office and
See what
let's
happened?
let's check out the history of the house. Let's see the property records and
I don't know. And honestly, if I were being
go
tormented
to the
by
library.
if I were being tormented by crap like that, I don't think that would be on my mind. It would be just let's get rid of it.
That would be the first thing I would. But that's.
Yeah, actually, it would be, but I'm different.
I want to know the history of the house. I want to know what this is. Let's see what else actually what's documented that has gone on here. So maybe then we can narrow it down to.
But maybe
this is the cause, and that makes it easier to get rid of it.
Oh, you mean once there's already a problem? You don't mean before they move in?
No. I mean, once there's a problem, to help nail the problem down to a particular wayward spirit or something, some reason that it might be there, that can actually help you be able to identify, to get rid of it. You need to know the history.
Talk to its spirits, find out that its bones are stored in the attic, and they take it and give it a proper Christian
Salt
burial.
and burn the bones.
So,
jeez. Seems like
so anyway, Tanis said that Tanis said there were 7 different spirits that were trapped within the home, and the house calmed down after that, but Claire still felt trapped. She wanted to move, but all the money had been sunk into the house, so they're stuck there. The next morning, they found that Mike had left early and took Randy home. While Mike was gone to take Randy home, there comes a knock at the door. It's a policeman.
Oh. It's an actual knock.
Yeah, it's an actual knock. There's a policeman at the door. He tells him that Mike has been in an accident. And they ask about Randy. And they said Mike had told them that he had dropped Randy off already. But he also said, they said they found Mike at the scene of the accident, but they didn't find the other person. And they asked, what do you mean the other person? He said, well, Mike said someone was in the car with him that grabbed the wheel and caused him to have the accident. And of course, Phil and Claire are like, there would have been nobody with him. You know, he's just taking Randy home and coming right back. So anyway, Mike said that later he said that something was in the car with him and reached over and grabbed the wheel and turned the wheel. Car goes off the road and he wrecks. Anyway, the cop tells him that he is undergoing surgery. He suffered head injuries and a ruptured spleen.
Owie.
Yeah. And so anyway, several months of rehab later, and the haunting continues. Finally, Father Alphonse comes back out to the house one last time. Alex Tanis accompanies him, along with the film crew. And in an unprecedented occurrence, it says, the Vatican approved an exorcism of a structure. Vatican approved. They performed, so anyway, which that's, you know.
As opposed to a person.
Right.
Okay. This is the first time.
How does that work if based upon, I mean, a building doesn't have a soul. A building is a
Vatican
inanimate object that cannot be possessed, right?
Hence the reason this is new.
Well, there's different thoughts on possession. You know, we talked about in a previous episode where a person, the spirit doesn't actually, or the demon doesn't get in the person and take over their soul. Doesn't get in their soul. It just suppresses them to the point that they can't fight back anymore. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Vatican approved exorcism on the house. So Father Alphonse is there, and he begins to pray. As the words exit his lips, varying with intensity as the rites often do, the home begins to literally shake, accompanied by horrific moaning and wailing. This time worse than the time before.
And gnashing of teeth.
I guess so. So that every horrible feeling, bang, knocking, and scratching noise that the family had experienced thus far was present again and seemed to be magnified this time. Hours later, the rites were finished, and the home seems peaceful and blissful, just like it did the first time they visited the house. And again, for 3 months, the family lives in peace. After the 3 months have passed, starts up again.
Who's hiding the Ouija board in their bedroom?
No doubt. It's underneath the stairs.
Mike was. I found out later. Mike had been performing Ouija board sessions in the house.
Mike's always getting into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
What is it with the mics?
I don't know. So after 3 months, starts up again. By now, the dandies just can't stand it anymore. They cut their losses, and they leave. So they moved. They actually moved out of state. They got completely away from the house.
They're like, peace out, New York. We are done.
We're going to Texas.
Yeah, I don't know where they went. I don't remember.
Bringing our juju with us.
They went all the way to the West Coast. I want to say Oregon, Washington State, something like that. Oregano. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that I found out after the fact. This is after they left, after the haunting and all that there, from different paranormal investigators who have been out there. Actually, the place now is, you can go there and
looking at the website to see what the calendar they got. It's $350 a night for up to 6 people to investigate all night.
It's a paranormal investigator that actually owns it now, and he is the first person to own it since 1966. No one's ever actually owned it,
right?
Because they couldn't pay it off, because something would happen, they'd have to leave out.
Oh,
yeah.
They get chased out, huh?
This was the first time the Vatican had ever approved a structural exorcism, by the way, and it failed.
But I say, and it must have failed.
You know what? If that had actually been the Fonz, it would have been successful the first time.
Yeah, if it truly been, it had been Fonzarelli instead of
get out of here.
So if it had been Fonzarelli instead of Alfonso,
Arthur Fonzarelli,
right?
If he could come with leather Tuscadero,
but there was lots of So lots of stuff that they've discovered since then. There were 2 brothers that were fighting there, and I can't remember. I want to say this is back in maybe the 30s.
Oh, so like this is what's haunting the house, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were these 2 brothers that were fighting over one brother's wife.
Ooh, scandalous.
Yeah, big time. And so one of the brothers,
Buffett called it.
Yeah, so one of the brothers shoots the other brother. In 1945, there was still a barn on the site, on the property, and there was a chain-driven saw. In my mind, no, not a chainsaw, but a chain-driven circular saw.
Oh, like a sawmill saw.
Like a sawmill saw. And this little boy that lived there was out there, and he was playing in the barn.
Of course he was.
No, I know what you're thinking. He cut himself in 2 or something. No. The chain snapped.
Oh, no.
Oh.
And came back at him.
Chain snapped, hit him in the head, and killed him.
Is this the little boy they saw?
Wait, half his head was gone?
Could have been the brother that shot the other brother. When they were fighting, one brother shot the other brother, may have shot him in the head.
Or the chainsaw got the kid, is what I was thinking.
It wasn't a chainsaw. It was just a chain.
But I'm saying if the kid was missing half of his head.
Yeah,
I said it was a kid whose half is that kid's young wouldn't be fighting over a woman, over the other one's wife.
Think about the time, though.
Yeah, but wife. Did you say wife?
Right. Think about the time, though. People got married
at like 14.
Yeah, people got married a lot younger.
Men had to be a little bit older so that they had...
Not much. I mean, they were still young back then. So there was a hanging tree on the property.
Oh, is that the one that now has the tire swing hanging from it in these pictures?
No, I don't think so. This one is not on the property anymore, because when they cut it up, it ended up on adjacent property, and lightning struck it, so it's just a stump now. But the several investigators have been negatively affected. So I'm sure if Zach were there, he would have a
Zach attack.
Well, I see Nick's been there.
Nick has been there.
Paranormal lockdown.
One of the things that I watched, the investigator was going out there, and Nick is a friend of this guy, and he said, "Hey, dude, I'm going to let you know, if you go there, be very, very careful, because I went there, investigated, and something came home with me." And they had to do a cleansing on his house, and he was affected by it for a while. The current owner has had ground penetrating radar brought out there and investigated part of the property. They have discovered 5 bodies that they do know of that are buried on the back part of the property.
So they called usually when you're investigating and you find a body, then you got to stop everything, call the cops out, I got to dig it up, see how old it is. If it's, I think it's 75 years is the cutoff to where it's a
really?
crime.
I didn't know.
Well,
really? They have to investigate it?
Yeah, I've seen this happen a couple of times where GPR or corpse dogs hit on an area and they end up having to call the police out, dig it up. And at least in the one thing where Taps was there, they said, the police told us that if we have to test, if we find a body and it's younger than it's been in the ground less than 75 years, we have to treat this as a crime scene.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's by state, by jurisdiction.
It's probably by jurisdiction.
But anyway, they found 5 different bodies on there with ground penetrating radar, which I thought was interesting. The dandy daughter, Tina.
The dandy daughter.
The dandy daughter, Tina.
Oh, Tina.
After leaving the property, unalived herself.
Because that little girl didn't leave her.
She unalived herself, and
bless it.
Since then, yeah, it's sad. Since then, her picture has been caught at the house. And the reason they know it's her picture is because her mom confirmed it. Her mom saw it and said, "Yep, that's her. You got her picture."
Really?
So one parent, she would come all the way back there from Oregon.
Well, I don't know that she was in Oregon when she did that, but I do know that that's what happened. One of the paranormal investigative groups that were out there, one of the stories about Tina was that her mother would put Vicks vapor rub on her, and because of the scent, it was kind of calming for her. So her mother, when she was a little girl, would put this on her. So they left out a deal of Vicks vapor rub, and
some of it was missing.
Huh?
And some of it was missing.
Her fingerprint was in it. A fingerprint was in the Vicks vapor rub. When they went to dinner and came back, and when they came back, there was a fingerprint in it. Mike, the kid, the one that was playing with the Ouija board, he has died, and they've caught EVPs of Mike
at the house.
At the house. So evidently he was performing a Ouija board session in the living room, and there's a doll that's in the house now that was thrown at him during the Ouija board session. And believe it or not, the house may have killed him as well, because he died from a blood clot that broke free from a blood clot that he had from the accident, they think, when the car wrecked.
Oh, like a PE or something.
Blood clot broke free, and that's what killed him. They have found dozens of arrowheads on the property. There are 4 documented Native American burial grounds on neighboring property. There was one investigator who caught a picture, and I saw it. I saw the picture. I didn't see what he saw, but he said it was a pukwudgie. You ever heard of a pukwudgie? So
I have, actually, but I don't remember what it is.
I think it's in like a Harry Potter thing or something.
Yeah.
But pukwudgies are thought to be elementals that protect Native American burial grounds. A pukwudgie is translated by Henry Schoolcraft as little wild man of the woods that vanishes. It is a human-like creature of the Wampanoag. Did I say it right?
Sure.
Wampanoag tribe, and
Wampanoag.
It's a Wampanoag tribe.
Wampanoag.
Yeah.
Noag.
But they say it
Wampanoag.
Wampanoag.
But you would say Wampanoag.
That's how I've always
when I
heard
say
it.
it like that, then that rings a bell.
It does. Same.
Wampanoag.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway, they believe it's this little troll-like creatures, and when I've looked them up, they're little bitty guys, and they half troll, half human. Their back looks like a porcupine. They're covered in these
look all troll here, but
little quill-looking things. anyway, they've gotten pictures of them. People have seen them out there. I don't know about all that, but
This is what lives behind my house.
Yeah, no soul.
so that room with all the flies and everything, the dandies actually boarded that room up when they were living there
Really?
because they felt that was the epicenter of the evil, not the crawl space. They thought it was that room.
Or not Mike's room where he's doing the Ouija board sessions.
He was actually doing the Ouija board
Or
sessions
in the living room, you said.
Yeah.
But where was he keeping the board is what I was thinking.
I don't know. Anyway, many believe that it's not just the house, but it's actually the land that the house sits on.
Sounds like it, 'cause you're seeing stuff in the woods.
The bodies
all
that are
around.
buried.
Burial grounds and yeah. Anyway, that is all I have about the dandies.
So what's the most recent person that's been there? Did you say you?
I just saw that Nick Groff was there during Paranormal Lockdown, so that would have been with Katrina Weidman's a chick who also does the Portals to Hell with Jack Osbourne.
Mm-hmm.
He had that show with her, but he, it didn't make it to the third or fourth season because of the drama with Zach and Travel Channel something. I mean, Nick says that Zach had it canceled.
Yeah.
But who knows the reality behind that? I mean, when they merged with
the all-powerful Zach.
When they merged, when Discovery and Max, HBO Max and all that merged, they cut multiple shows because they were trimming
the fat.
Trimming the fat of the excessive amount of paranormal shows that Travel
Yeah,
Channel
I was going to say there's probably a lot of duplication going
Yeah.
on there.
So it just went by
So,
ratings.
Yeah, but a lot of people believe that it's actually the land itself is cursed, and it's not just the house.
There's a movie about it, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, the Hinsdale House, 2019.
Oh, yes, there is. Don't waste your time. Trust me.
Oh, okay. So
I
it's spooky
suffered. I suffered, so you didn't have to.
Okay.
I feel kind of like Jesus here, because
That bad, huh?
Oh my God, yes, it's horrible. It's right up there with
The Sci-Fi Network.
It's right up there with the
Sharknado.
Bray Road Beast.
Oh,
It's just really bad,
That-
huh?
Yeah, that grade D movie that was made back in the 2000s, I guess, something, maybe.
like an asylum picture, like from an asylum, yeah, one of those really bad.
The Hinsdale House Paranormal Investigation says it's 2019 as well.
Oh, the movie.
The show.
The Paranormal Lockdown episode.
Oh, this is Paranormal Investigation.
Mhm.
It's an online film drama.
There's a really good one on YouTube, and it's another guy who does investigations and stuff like that, and with lots and lots of followers. So I'll put his
Paranormal Files.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, yeah.
Blonde hair, good looking dude.
Young guy,
Yeah.
tattoos.
Yeah. Anyway, he did one there, and I watched theirs, and it's like a 2-hour.
Yeah, he does really good work. I mean, he does
Yeah, he does.
3-hour videos and a lot of them.
Yeah,
He's
he
traveling
does.
all the time.
Yeah, he does a really good job. And
I think he's based here. I think he's in Texas, but
is he
he
really?
goes all over the place. Yeah.
Huh? I didn't know that. But
I watched some of the really early stuff, and it was all around Texas mostly.
oh, yeah.
Back when his hair was short.
Oh, you know what? As I recall, I have seen some of the stuff with his short hair. I kind of like his mop look now, though. I think it works for him.
He sells tattoo flash with some designs that you could buy from him for
Oh, really?
little ghosties and stuff.
Would you go here?
I don't know. I really don't
Is
know.
this the only place that's ever been approved to be exorcised as a building?
It's the only one that I've ever heard of.
I mean, it was the one that had to first get approval, so obviously it's the
Right.
first. I
Yeah,
was
it
curious
was the
if there's
first.
anything since.
It's the only one that I have ever heard of where the Vatican actually approved. I mean, there's all kinds of guys out there that call themselves exorcists. But we're talking about the gold standard, the Catholic exorcism, and so that's the only one, like I say, that I've heard of. But there maybe there's more now.
Okay.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
curious. Interesting. So I'm sorry, you don't know if you'd go here or not,
I don't know.
John?
This one kind of freaks me out a little
I
bit.
mean, you have to go to Buffalo, New York to go.
You would.
Yeah, they're never in awesome places like Hawaii or
I don't know,
or
San Antonio.
San Antonio's
Some
awesome.
haunted
Yeah,
hotels.
that's
and
true.
It's a fun place to visit, man.
There's so many along the East Coast, like in Yankee Land,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I'd rather go to the Connecticut place because it's pretty. I don't know. My vision. I've never been to upstate New York, so I have this warped vision of New York because of what I saw in New York City,
Yeah.
which is supposedly two different
Very
worlds.
different
Upstate
is what
and
I've
New York
been
City.
told
Are,
as
yeah,
well.
I've heard is two completely different worlds. But
I don't know if I would go or not. This one there was something about this that
Really gave you the oogly,
a little bit it
The
creeped me out a little bit.
heebie-jeebies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know what, but yeah, that one kind of creeped me out a little bit.
Yeah, it feels different almost. Like I feel like the story makes it feel different than the Hill House, like the one that we went to, or
Yeah.
you know, it's creepy looking, but there's just something about it. It just
it's
Yeah, when
a
I-
creepy looking house.
it's
when I
very
was
creepy.
when I was reading it and reading about it and watching the other videos, you know, on YouTube and stuff like that, there's just a feel about it that I just like. I don't know.
That's got some bad juju going on.
That might have some bad juju.
Not sure that the
I don't know that I
exorcism
wanna-
worked.
Well, that's just it. The exorcism didn't work. You know,
And I think
they end up leaving the house. Nobody's completely bought and paid for this house since 1966, I think it was.
Well,
Until recently, the guy actually paid it off, I think. But
Yeah, some places like that. Best to just turn.
God.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to hit
there's just some places that I don't feel like I want to be a part of. Like I don't want to even.
Best just to turn them into paranormal investigation playgrounds and not live in
Like
them.
charge was it $350 a night? You said to go up there and.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be honest. This is one of those places that I'd be like in the dead middle of the day, set up some cameras, and then head out. Like, so I'm
day
not
tours
even
as well. It's $350 for up to 6 people for an overnight investigation.
like, you know,
That's not
you
bad.
could even like set up EVP stuff with a recorder playing questions, and then it breaks and you wait. But like, not even gonna be there to.
no,
They
Well,
give
when-
you a long time too. Like
Maybe-
check-in is usually 7 p.m., but they're flexible, and check out 10 a.m. Almost hotel check-out.
you know what you could do? You could set up a ring. You could set up a ring camera there, and you
Talk
could,
through it
Yeah, and you could
and
talk
have
through
it
the ring camera. You wouldn't even have to be on site.
Zach does that a lot now. Well, he'll those house that Ghost Adventures house calls show
Yeah,
where he sends Aaron and Billy and Jay and Lauren to
I can.
to the place, but he doesn't go, and then he holds. It's like I need to talk to him, and he'll call out.
I cannot.
Please place the possessed person in front of the camera. Caritas vesterios comadovas averto bestia nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
What was that I gonna tell you that you need to watch? I watched a really good Deliver Us from Evil with Eric Bana is in it.
Oh, I've
The
seen
Hulk?
that, but I don't remember it.
Dude, it is good. It's based
Was
on supposedly based on the true accounts of this New York City police detective who he had a show for like a season on Travel Channel, I believe, as well. Sarchi, Detective something Sarchi, who became a demonologist after he retired from NYPD. Anyway,
Yeah.
5 stars. That was a great movie.
So this place,
Not going.
I just, yeah, like I
When
said,
it
just give me
affects
the-
that many people and they are no longer here, possibly because of that house.
Well, when Nick Groff says, "Dude, you should be careful. Be careful. Don't bring stuff home with you." So I would just go out on a limb and say, no, I wouldn't do it. John, would you want to go there?
If I'm passing through, I wouldn't go out of my way.
Yeah.
That's
go.
not your destination.
Buffalo, New York's not on the top list of
Places to
holiday destinations.
Okay, so what about Bushmills Blackbush? Would we recommend that? And you just answered my question right there with
No.
It's okay.
Just 2 thumbs down.
Here's the thing.
Wouldn't recommend this house.
I wouldn't recommend
really
the house.
recommend the Bushmills
the
Blackbush.
Bushmills Blackbush. I would not recommend because there is way too much out there that's way better for
Even from them.
from them for
I
about
see
the
a
same
bottle
price.
of it right there in the liquor cabinet. Prohibition recipe.
And we haven't
Yeah,
even
that
scratched the
sounds great.
surface of how many Bushmills makes. Like, they have
No,
a
yeah,
lot
there's-
of different batches.
White
and
label, which is
stuff
the
and
standard.
stuff, but
Black label, red label, prohibition, and then they get into the single malts all the way
rare
up to like
casks.
the 30-year single malts, which
Yes.
are probably fantastic. but
I didn't realize that they had that much. I thought they were.
They
I
have
didn't realize.
quite a few. Upwards of 10, I believe. But,
I didn't know.
all right, well, I'm not down for either one. Either.
Me neither.
No one asked, but I'm not down for the house.
Or the
This I will finish, but
yeah, eventually. Maybe I'll give
cake
that
or
away.
something with it or something.
Yeah.
Like
a whiskey cake.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. You can
I
make
can do that.
They make rum cakes, right?
Yeah, they
Okay.
make whiskey
Yeah.
cakes. You can make icing and stuff
All
with
right.
whiskeys. Alrighty, have a good night.
Good night, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, they make.
That's cooking whiskey. That's like cooking wine.
Well, they make it. That Prohibition recipe
It's great.
is a lot better.
Yeah.
I like Prohibition recipe.
This was 90 proof. It'd probably
We
be a
were
lot
having that
better.
discussion yesterday.
Prohibition is probably my go-to for Irish whiskey.
They have limited.
Bang for buck, I don't think that there's better Irish whiskey out there.